Hey, so I'm about to leave and then pick you up. Are you ready? Never felt more ready for yakitori.
Okay.
Oh, and guess what? This afternoon, Giovanni just gave me tickets to the opera tonight, later tonight. He can't go for some reason and he just gave it to me. And guess which one it is? Don't say Puccini. The one and only Madama Butterfly. Get here quick right now. Hi beautiful souls, it's Han here today with another Venus in the Houses Synastry videos, and today we're going to do Venus in Partner's 9th house. So I have made a Synastry introduction video. You can click the links up above and the description box below to watch, so you can kind of get an idea about what each of the houses mean in a Synastry reading, because it's going to be a little bit different from what it means in your own natal chart, because we're talking about relationships here, right? So after you've watched that, then you can come back and watch this video. So of course, Venus is that part of someone that's all about love and harmony and relationships and culture and art and pleasures and just having a good time. So when Venus comes into a partner's 9th house, first of all, this Venus becomes a bit like a Venus in Sagittarius in a sense. So first of all, this is going to generate quite an excitement between the two people, because both of these people are gonna feel like they have found someone that they can learn a lot from, but learn in terms of something that can help them to grow and expand their horizons. So, you know, like this would be a great place if you are a teacher and a student, or you are, you know, so you can be lovers, you can be friends, you can be acquaintances, you can just meet over like one meal, but then be able to give the other person some kind of information or some kind of perspective that just through the course of that one meal somehow changes the person's life. If this is just, you know, the only thing that's going on with Venus and it's really not making any deeper aspects, or there are no other moon and the moon is not in a place that is deeper, this doesn't generate that kind of feeling that you want to see this person again, or you want to continue the relationship, or you want to make it something long-term or something stable or something long-lasting, because it's really just about that, you know, initial excitement and that one thing that the person can tell you that can kind of change your perspective on the world, and that can pretty much just be it. So the house person, usually in this case, feels that the Venus person has maybe new cultural information or new something cultural that is new to them, but it is within their own sphere of interest. So maybe the house person, you know, is interested in certain music, and the Venus person is, you know, has a similar taste in the music, but then they bring something new to add. So the house person can view the Venus person as being similar, and so they like each other, but at the same time, there's something different and a new perspective on that thing that they share together. So what the Venus person then really loves about the house person is kind of their more intellectual approach to their beliefs, because they're likely to share some beliefs that are the same, but the house person's approach, their more philosophical or intellectual approach to that specific belief or that specific, you know, ideologies about the world, causes the Venus person to kind of admire the house person in a sense. So there's some admiration that goes on here. And, you know, if the two of them were to engage in things like traveling together, you know, I can really imagine these two people traveling and discussing about different cultures, you know, talking about, you know, what they see on their travels, but in a more like philosophical sense, you know, in a sense that, like, let's say that they travel together and then they're visiting like this ancient city, historic city. You know, they could be having a more philosophical discussion about, you know, how the city came to be and what are their own beliefs about the underlying fundamental principles of why, you know, the city was formed and kind of things like that. So things that really goes a little bit deeper than factual information when they're traveling, as opposed to Venus in partner's third house, which they could be a little more factual in their discussions when they're traveling together. Yeah, so just generally this placement is a placement of growth, but it is not a placement of a commitment. So that's why this placement can be great for any kind of a relationship that will allow the two people to grow. But if it is a romantic relationship, that can also be really good, because the two people are going to be growing in their relationship in some ways, if that Venus is not making some strange aspect or anything like that to squaring Saturn or Pluto, that is gonna be limiting the growth in a sense, or kind of, you know, having a more of a narrow and controlled view of what should be grown, what shouldn't be grown, what should stay the same, what should change, that kind of a thing. But even with Pluto, at the end of the day, Pluto is there to cause us to transform, so that could also be very interesting pairing if Venus is making aspect to Pluto and Venus goes into the 9th house, something like that. So yeah, definitely there's going to be an excitement when these two are sharing music, art, cultural things, you know, whatever they consider, if that's food or if that's just a spiritual topics that they can discuss together. Maybe they talk about yoga, but they're approaching it from a more an intellectual kind of a place, you know, rather than a heartfelt, deep connection in that sense, like an emotional connection. It's not really like that. It's more of like a deep intellectual connection that they can have. So yeah, that's my take on Venus in partner's 9th house. If you have this placement, then leave a comment below, let us know what your experiences have been. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. If you've already subscribed, then thank you very much for coming along on these astrology videos that we have here, learning and growing together and having better relationships with the people around us. And I'll see you soon. Bye!